My name is Dulce Valencia, and welcome to TELENOVELASCONDULCE, a podcast where every week I invite special guests to break down the telenovelas we love, from the music to the cast to the unforgettable plot twist.
Every slap, every imbécil, every secret twin.
I have got you covered. Bienvenidos and welcome to another episode of Telenovelas con Dulce. I'm Dulce Valencia, your host, a fellow telenovela lover, and I'm joined here again for her third time. We love to see it. My dear friend, Aranza Alejandra Marmolejo Ramirez.
Do you mean we love to hear it? Ya ni me ofrece agua esta.
Ni te di de comer.
La otra vez sí.
Yeah, so I try to, because obviously, like, my friends are amazing and they give up so much of their time watching telenovelas to just do this podcast with me. So I try to at least have food for them. Last time I had sopita de concha.
No. We had chiles rellenos.
So remember last time when we were like, we're about to record an episode of a new telenovela and it's going to be 4 of us and we're all excited. I invited them over the weekend on Sunday, and I cooked chiles en relleno for them, which is my favorite food, and it's my signature dish.
I ate them even though I don't like cheese.
And it was a failure. That episode recording.
It wasn't a total failure, I would say. We had fun.
Oh, no.
There was a lot of I haven't laughed that much in a while, and that was great. But, I mean, work ethic-wise, it just wasn't there.
It wasn't it. So now I have to get a lot more structured with that.
Oh, yeah.
And I hope that the episodes just keep getting better, and we're going to try to record again soon. We stopped recording at about the 35-minute mark. I maybe had like 5 minutes of useful.
It took us 35 minutes to explain the first 5 minutes of the entrada and just telenovela in general.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show how complex that telenovela is. So it's going to be a challenge to have a podcast on it, but if anyone's gonna do it, it's Dulce.
Thank you, Aranza. And without further ado, we're just gonna get started on Teresa. I will again put in the show notes a link to the Teresa versions that we're watching. I have stuck with the storyline for Arturo and Teresa, so I'm watching a shortened, sped up version. And Aranza has gone and watched the full version, so I'll be linking both of those up. And for this episode, we're only going to be going up until episode 35. Stop it.
We promised that.
We're going to go up to episode 35 of Teresa, but we are going to pick up our pace. And for next episode, hopefully we'll pass.
I want to go to like 60.
I want to go to 62.
Okay.
So our goal for next week is to get to episode 60. So this is my accountability check.
This is going to keep us accountable, but we did the same thing last time, so.
And it's because of the telenovela we're right now watching, that's why. All right, but you know what? We are just going to get started. So when we last left off, we were left in a position where Teresa's just manipulating everyone around her. Everything is going her way, and she thinks that she can have it all, and she's keeping her options open. We see her get close to el Profe Arturo, but we don't know if it's for real or if she's just manipulating him, and we kind of get our answer.
Oh yeah, we do. And I didn't know it was this early on in the novela, and then all of a sudden we see Luisa and him have a conversation, and that's when he admits it to Luisa, I'm gonna try to marry Teresa when she finishes her studies. And at least we can say that they are, and that's what they always keep referring back to, is they're gonna keep their promise to Teresa's parents, because then you know how they are. It's just to like make sure Teresa graduates first, and then they're gonna pursue something. And I respect that.
I think that Arturo and Luisa are just angels.
Oh yeah, I actually, the first thing on my notes is, I don't know if you saw this in the shortened version, but Luisa has a confrontation with Paloma.
I didn't see it.
So yeah, that's
okay. Tell me.
Okay, so Paloma sees Teresa kiss Mariano at the park. Yes. And so that's when I was like, is the scene gonna happen?
No, not that early.
Yeah, and I was like, no. I don't know. I might come sooner than you think. So yeah, Paloma sees Teresa kiss Mariano, and obviously like she goes to her friend and tells her, what do we have to do? So Paloma goes to the house to try to tell someone, and that's when Luisa confronts her, and Luisa goes in on Paloma, and it was like the most, I mean, up to this point, because Luisa is one of my favorite characters in the novela, she delivers such a impactful speech to Paloma about what happened when she left and how much it hurt Arturo and her. And I was only 11 years old, and I had to call all the guests to tell them about and I had to pick up the pieces, and I had to see Arturo, pick up the bottles, and I had to take care at 11 years, and like it was just very like, oh, like it hurt my heart. Like I'm like, she doesn't deserve that. And her curls, I can't get over her curls still, but I think that's why we haven't seen her, because I was watching the full episodes, and I think that's why we haven't seen her come back, because it really hurt and struck something in Paloma. And that's when actually she finds out that Teresa isn't anything with Arturo. It was just like a lie. So she knows.
So Paloma knows, but she's still keeping her distance. And we get a time jump. So from the last episode we saw, which school had just started, and Teresa has her big confrontation with Aida, and she promises to everyone in her class that she's going to be the top student in her generación. And we get a time jump. 3 years have passed. Their schooling is winding down. Everyone's getting ready to graduate. And we see a scene where Teresa shows her grades to el profe. And lo and behold, she kept her promise. She is on track to graduate and be the top student in her generation.
I mean, did we expect anything different?
And this is where I get so upset with Teresa.
Yeah.
That she just really I'm going to keep comparing her to Ruby because they're both so similar. But Ruby didn't have the drive for education that Teresa has. But Teresa does. And she's so smart, and she's really hardworking. And she could have really kept her promise with Arturo, kept their deal, and been a really, really successful lawyer. But yeah, 3 years have passed, and now Arturo is in love with Teresa. He hasn't told Teresa yet, and Teresa's still kind of playing her cards right. She doesn't know for sure that he wants her and he wants to be with her, but she kind of has an inkling. Mm-hmm. And this inkling is confirmed to the audience with the conversation you just played out between Luisa and Arturo. And this scene when he's like, as soon as she graduates, I'm going to propose marriage. They haven't dated.
Yeah, which just goes to show, but I get it, because to the viewers, we haven't really seen all those years, and there must be so much there, the relationship that they built, just even as, we talk about all the time. Some people have work husbands and work wives, and you spend a lot of time with people you work with. Mm-hmm. And we see those steamy little moments. I don't know exactly when it happened, but Teresa had walked in on Ruben and Arturo talking, and she walks in and she drops something.
I know exactly the scene.
And they both go to pick it up, Arturo and her, and she and he stares at her.
At her chest.
Her chest, her breast, yes.
That is always oiled up.
Yeah, I know. I was telling Dulce, because there's another scene at the end we'll talk about. And Teresa she's moisturized. Like, I have some ashy ass elbows, but no, you can never find Teresa with her ashy ass. So she is moisturized.
Mm-hmm. She sure is. But here's the thing, though. Teresa has been lying to Arturo and Luisa this entire 3 years. And what's the lie? Mariano. Teresa and Mariano have been together for these last 3 years. They reconciled after
We see so many fallouts over Teresa's mindset of, she's doing all this, and everyone else around her, if you want to be in her life, you also have to, work at it. Mm-hmm. And we even see that with her madrina. So Juana and Cuthberto, every time they show them on screen, they have like special music for them, and I love them. It's just so playful and fun, and I love them. They're my favorite sideline story. But even when it comes to Teresa's godmother, she always tells her, don't go after that, like, no way. And there was a scene that I watched, and she's like disgusted of him because that's what se emborracha. she's just disgusted by him. Everyone in her life, you're either gonna have to strive and prosper like she is and work as hard, or she's gonna tell you straight up no. That's what she does with Mariano. And that's the scene where he takes her up to a special dinner because he gets the ring back. In one of their fallouts, Teresa kind of like throws the ring. It was lost, apparently. Her dad finds it, gives it back to Mariano. He plans this very special, cute dinner at the top of their vecindad, and Teresa had talked about her favorite homemade food that Mariano's mom used to make, I think. So it was special, and so that's what he had made for her. And so it's very thoughtful. But as soon as he blindfolded her, and as soon as she saw, oh, all of this or that, like, that's it. It was very and this, in all these episodes, we start seeing Teresa's ugly characteristics. And there's a saying for like pretty girls who are like have nasty attitudes, and unfortunately Teresa is one of those. Mm-hmm. And as viewers, we kind of want to root for her because we understand, like, I understand where she's coming from, but there's no validation for or excuses for why she acts the way she does, especially to her loved ones, especially to her dad, which we'll get into. But
yeah, up until this point, up until this chunk of episodes, I was on Teresa's side. I was watching this because, again, this is a rewatch for us, but it's a rewatch over a decade after we first watched it. And so up until this point, I was siding with Teresa at every turn. There were parts where I wanted her to do things differently, but I was with her. I was with her on this journey. But then this next chunk of episodes is when I'm like, oh yeah, no.
You're reminded, because again, in last episode, we were talking about how she even manipulates us as viewers because she gets us rooting for her. And no, we have to snap back because you see the way she treats all the people, and it's nasty.
It is nasty. So yeah, 3 years have passed. Arturo's in love with Teresa. Teresa's lying to Arturo and Luisa, telling them that she's single and she's never dated. And then Mariano is el taxista that bothers her. So there's these lies and these little things that are going to come up further down the road. And then, so there's this moment where Arturo is going to buy Luisa an apartment as a graduation gift. And he asks Teresa for her help, so they go apartment hunting together. Turns out that the real estate agent is Paolo, Teresa's ex-boyfriend's mother, who hates Teresa. And so they start these rumors that Teresa is Arturo's amante and that he's buying an apartment to basically keep her away and just have her hidden. It's a whole thing. It's a whole mess. And this is where kind of Arturo starts to show his feelings for Teresa more openly, because they start talking and Teresa's like, these are all the rumors that are happening. And then Arturo's like, I would never buy you an apartment. You deserve the best house, the most beautiful house. If you were my wife, like this and this, I would get to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they also have conversations as this whole rumor develops. Teresa's always feeding her side, which is honestly just straight up true. They're just harassing her. The whole reason why I was bringing this up was because Arturo asks Teresa, do you have a boyfriend? Mm-hmm. And Teresa replies with, oh no, like everyone me desprecia because, I'm poor, and, everyone in high school like knows that I'm poor, so they don't want me, and, this and that, and it's all because I'm poor. And Arturo's like, oh, well, they're dumb for thinking that, kind of insinuating I wouldn't do that to you.
So there's, Teresa's getting these hints from Arturo, and it gets to the point where Arturo goes to Teresa's house, and his plan is to tell her dad his intentions of marrying Teresa as soon as she graduates. So he's setting things up. And again, for me, I know that we haven't seen what the past 3 years have been, but that's a really big jump to go up to her parent and be like, I am going to propose to your daughter, even though we've never dated, and up until this point, I've just been her boss.
And this is also what I was thinking is he's been respectful. That's why I always say he's keeping his promise, and we see that. And you were saying, I wish we would have seen Teresa continue her career and path and see how far she would have gotten. Would that love interest not have evolved or, been created at all?
I don't know. It's difficult because I think right from the start, Teresa went in with the mindset that she was going to seduce him, like not try overly too hard, but she knows that she's beautiful and she has it. When she tells Aida, like, I could have your dad, like,
oh
she
my
knows.
God.
She knows. So I think it was always a card that she planned on playing. Then Arturo took the bait. And so if Arturo wouldn't have taken the bait and Teresa would have just been strictly professional and both of them, I don't know.
I would have to say I feel like something would have happened.
Regardless.
Yeah, maybe. I for sure.
But Teresa doesn't love him though.
But I still think something would have transpired.
I think, yeah, there's a lot of ways that this story could have gone. Mm-hmm. One way, for example, Teresa keeps everything strictly professional with Arturo, and Mariano becomes the kind of doctor that Teresa wants him to be. And then now Teresa doesn't need Arturo for his money.
But even the way things are going right now, Mariano's telling her all these things, you know, like the ring, it's not what you deserve right now. And he's still telling her, you know, like, I don't know. Mariano was never going to be good enough for her because Mariano's a good person.
Mm-hmm. And Mariano lets his good heart make his decisions.
Just like, that's why am I allowed to say spoilers?
No spoilers in this podcast. All right. Then we also get a scene where Arturo almost discovers that Teresa and Mariano are together. So Teresa's outside with Mariano. They're kissing, and Arturo looks out his window, but he doesn't see the kissing. He just sees Teresa hugging Mariano, and he gets jealous.
He flips out.
Completely. And I'm like, does this man have anger issues? Like, what is his...
Yeah, he kind of does.
Right.
Certain things trigger him.
And that triggers him, and he goes after Teresa, grabs her, and is like, you broke your promise.
It's way out of line if really what we're talking about is their like professional relationship. He has no reason. Mm-hmm. But at this point, we know he has feelings, and even Luisa was like, yeah, you're out of line, but you got jealous, la la la. Mm-hmm. Teresa storms out, of course. She's like, I'm not even gonna let you disrespect me. Always in her mind, she's probably like, okay, how can I use this to my advantage? Mm-hmm. And of course, she does later.
Tell us about that.
Before I wanted to get into that, I was actually going to bring up the fact that Arturo and Ruben are good friends. And how Arturo and him confide in each other. And Arturo tells Ruben about Teresa, and Ruben tells Arturo about Esperanza, to the point where Ruben literally is saying, oh, you know, my wife is gonna be thinking I'm with you, like, haha, wink, wink. And Arturo's like, you know, I don't agree with you, but like, okay, like,
but I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah, and I'm like, what does that say about Arturo?
That's what I was wondering last week, because we saw glimpses of that, and I didn't like it. Because in my head, if you're willing to tolerate that behavior, that means you're willing to do that kind of behavior too at some point. And so I think that, and I don't remember if this happens at all at any point in the telenovela, so if this is a spoiler, it isn't an intentional spoiler. But I think this is setting the foundation that Arturo can and may potentially cheat on Teresa if they get together. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I just don't like that behavior, because also Ruben is such a scumbag.
He is the serial cheater. Throughout the entire episodes that I was watching, he has a thing for the secretary. He has a thing with Esperanza. He has a weird thing going on with Paulo's mom. It's fucking weird.
And we also find out that most of his money and his fortune isn't even his.
It's not.
It's his wife, and that explains us why he's never gonna leave her.
The whole cancer card, which when I thought about that, I was like, that's kind of funny, because Esperanza's, is it her little brother? Mm-hmm. Pablito, he has cancer, and here he is playing the cancer card on her. Yep. So that's why she sympathizes. Mm-hmm. But then she finds out it's not true.
Esperanza finds out that Ruben has been lying to her, and she is pissed. She ends things with him, and then Ruben comes and finds her at the hospital.
But even before that, Teresa is setting things up. She's being BFFs with Esperanza porque le conviene. She's like, oh, let me go with you, because she knows. And you see Teresa in the background, like, she gets a picture of them. When I saw that scene, it was so funny, because like she's holding the phone, like,
I call that Teresa la chismosa.
Yeah. The little song that they play for her when she's being evil, like the dun, dun, it kind of reminds me of the
Jaws.
That and the Zafarea, Bad Bunny song, where he's about to say, aquí llegó tu tiburón. La tiburona.
She's a shark. And you know what? They always say that lawyers are sharks. And
really?
She's a lawyer.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I think of the sharks as those people. What is that show? Shark Tank.
The Shark Tank.
No.
Yeah, no. So, no. But that's the thing I wanted to talk about. when she gets a photo. So Ruben is being disgusting, throwing himself at Esperanza at her place of work. Then Mariano sees it, and Mariano isn't going to let anything happen. So he gets into a really, really, really big fight with Ruben. Like, they're punching each other, they're falling all over the floor. A crowd of nurses has gathered to watch them. And in the background is Teresa, not defending her friend, not doing anything to help, but just trying to get pictures.
A good view, yeah.
Yeah, and she, throughout the whole thing, she's just like, ooh, ooh. Like, you just, the camera work, you just see her face pop up every now and then.
And this gets Mariano suspended from work.
Yeah, so now he doesn't have a job or like an income for a while.
And he had been working double shifts to save up for their wedding.
And this is a part where I'm really going to start hating Teresa.
Yeah.
Because there's all these money problems happening. Her dad isn't working and he's struggling financially. And Arturo has been offering to pay Teresa. But Teresa, because she on purpose doesn't want Arturo to believe that que nomás le interesa por dinero, which is literally the truth, she's manipulating the situation. So she's like, I could never accept a salary. That's not our deal. We get her to finally accepted when Arturo goes to talk to her dad.
The way she accepts the money is so funny because, like, the only reason her dad was open about that was because of their situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had a different owner for where he was working, and Teresa's mom is having heart problems, so she can't work. So that's the real reason why he was open-minded. But as soon as, you know, he was like, oh, you know, maybe, and then Teresa, like, jumped in and she was like, okay. She was, you know, like...
Conste que solo porque ustedes dos decidieron eso.
Yeah.
She's so manipulative and she's so good at it.
But I want to hate her so much. I can't. I don't know why I can't, but I get it. I'm sorry. Like, I can't hate her. She's iconic. I get it. I get where she's coming from.
And this is why I hate her in this moment. And maybe, and you know, as characters evolve, I'll be the first to say I'll switch allegiances.
Oh, yeah.
But right now, I hate her because her entire family is struggling. And then now she's gonna get an income. And she tells her dad straight up, that income is for me. Like, I'll help a little if I can, but you have to figure out your expenses. I know, you have to figure out.
She was really like, tal vez les ayudo con algo, pero I have to pay this, and this, and this.
And then that very night, the landlord comes and says, your dad owes us 3 months of rent and we're evicting you. So they start taking everything out. At this point, Teresa has been paid her first paycheck, which she already lied to her dad and said that she wasn't going to get her first paycheck until the end of the month. But no, she has her first paycheck now, and it's 60,000 pesos.
We Googled it.
It's about $3,000 right now, which would have been
Inflation.
worth more. It would have been worth more a decade ago.
More than enough to pay off her dad's debt, the rent, everything.
And what does she do? She holds on to this check and goes to her dad and says, you need to figure it out. Meanwhile, all the neighbors, all the people that Teresa hates, all the people that she makes fun of, that she just can't stand, que le dan asco, they all come together to pull their money. Even Pablito brings 10 pesos.
Ooh, this is kind of interesting because later we're going to talk about how Mariano is grateful for everyone in the vecindad because he can list examples of what everyone's done for him. You know, that's community. That's how it is in the vecindad.
So everyone's pulling their money together. They get to the point where they only need 400 pesos more.
She can't stand Pablito.
Because Pablito comes running and is like, tengo 10 pesos, and he's all excited. And Teresa is like, gets in his face and is like, necesitamos 400 pesos, while she's holding a 60,000 peso check.
She really said, fuck them kids.
So the way that they pull up the money together is Mariano goes and he has this piggy bank basically that he's been using to store all his money, all his savings for him and Teresa's wedding. There's this big dramatic moment where he breaks the piggy bank and all the money comes out, and Teresa falls on the ground and she's pulling the money and she's like, ven lo que hacen, esta era mi boda. It's a whole thing. It's a whole mess, and I hate her because she has the money. So she could have avoided this whole thing, because one of the whole reasons that she said she wanted money, that she wanted power, was because she didn't want moments like this to happen. She wanted to help out her family.
And yeah, and that's why I was saying, like, I can't hate her for some reason. And I think it's because not only can I relate, but I think it just comes from trauma. Because we always talk about this with Kim.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Kim.
Hey, Cammy.
the trauma that we all face when we're kids, and you know, sometimes we don't know that we're poor until later on in life, like, oh crap, we didn't have AC or light during the summer, and we did like, I don't know, I see where Teresa's coming from, and like, haters are her motivators, and it's the trauma. Like, she lost her sister. I don't know. I
honestly, you're making so many excuses for her. And I get trauma. I get trauma from being poor. Like, we both have it. But the moment I have money, if I see my mom struggling, I'm not, and I have money, I'm not gonna let that happen.
Yeah, and how many positions have we been in where like borrowing money, like letting my parents borrow money, it's not even like it's like you can have it. Like,
yeah,
you gave me all this, and it's like, yeah, like my money's your money. Like, I've been in so many positions where, yeah, like I've straight up had to pay for our lawyers, you know, and I was like 18, you know, making my little check.
Yeah, and my mom is very prideful. She will do whatever she can to pull money, especially back a few years ago when we were really, really, really struggling. And she would never, ever, ever ask me for money. And I could see that she needed it.
It was dire, yeah.
Right. And so Teresa's dad asks her for money, and I know how hard it is for my mom to ever ask for anything.
It's painful. It was painful to watch. I know.
So why are you defending her?
I get it. I'm not saying what she's doing is right. Like, I hate her right now too, but it's hard to not root for her.
What do you mean it's hard to not root for her?
I don't know why I can't hate her.
You're defending Teresa.
Which I don't want to. Like, I'm not saying she's a great person.
But let's sit on this a little bit.
Okay.
Because what is it about this that makes you want to still root for her? Because up until this point, the whole reason we were rooting for her is because we could relate to the struggle of being poor and not wanting to be poor, and family, and her trying to help her family and not have another tragedy like Rosita. And her mom right now is sick. She could die like Rosita did. Her dad is struggling and he's suffering because of money. And Teresa has the money right now that she's gonna get another paycheck.
Which brings me to my point of Teresa doesn't know what she has and won't treasure it until it's gone. And that's what we see throughout the entire novela. She's one of those people that, like, yeah, you have to lose it to be able to treasure it. And, you know, unfortunately, that's not a great, I don't know, is it a characteristic? Like, yeah, it's not a great characteristic to have, but that's just her. And that's I see that in a lot of people, you know, especially being documented. Like, people take a lot of things for granted. I used to be super triggered when I saw happy families or just like the bare minimum thing, and it would trigger me. And like, now I'm kind of out of that, like, you know, everyone deserves that. Ugh, it used to bother me. And unfortunately, yeah, Teresa's just one of those people.
I don't know. I understand you a little better in your defense of Teresa, but I still am not gonna like her right now. I still think everything she did up until this point is wrong.
She wants to have it all, and she
won't know it, unfortunately. And maybe that's the tragedy of Teresa. She doesn't know what she has until it's completely taken away from her.
And it sucks to see, and that's why I root for her, because she's super smart. She has it all. She wants more, and she doesn't know where to stop. And I think it comes from trauma. And all the haters, that's why I'm like, she's been through so much. And I'm not saying she's a great person again, but it's just like, yeah.
I understand it a little better. And so Teresa's family is able to stay thanks to all the neighbors' help. And then we get to the scene where Mariano is having a graduation party because Mariano has graduated and he's going to become a doctor. Teresa thinks it's going to be this fancy affair with all the important people at the hospital. But that's not who Mariano is. And Mariano wants to celebrate with and honor the people that helped get him to this point, and that's all the people from the Vecindad. So I'm gonna let you take it away.
Yeah, he starts listing people like, oh, Cuthberto helped me buy my first medical book when I couldn't afford it. This neighbor helped me get this. And, you know, we even have Pablito, which he was really his like first patient. Then we see kind of like Teresa's mom in the background listening in. And you know how Doña Refugio is. Like, she's always like, te tengo miedo, Teresa, cuando hablas así. And she's listening to this whole conversation, and obviously she's getting upset. And Teresa kind of like argues with Mariano back and forth, leaves him like, I'm not going to be seen here. You know, this is going to be embarrassing, when basically the directors of the hospital, because he invited them too, and she was like, that's going to be so embarrassing. And she takes her mother's hand and tries to pull her, and that's when she's like, ya nos vamos. And Doña Refugio, finally puts her foot down, and she's like arguing with Teresa back and forth, and Doña Refugio doesn't have it and just slaps. A little slap.
It's honestly not a big slap.
It's a little
Like, I think it hurt Teresa's pride more than it hurt physically.
Especially because it's in front of Mariano. Like,
yeah, and you know, Teresa has had a really rocky relationship with her mom. She's constantly lying about her mom.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Right now, in Luisa and Arturo's eyes, Teresa has told them that her mom has said that she would have rather seen Teresa die instead of Rosita.
That she's against Teresa working, that she's against Teresa having a career, that she wants Mariano to be with Teresa.
Which is also why I struggle with, I've never been on Doña Refugio's side, because she's such
I empathize with her a little more now. But I agree. She's completely hard to root for because she goes about raising Teresa the completely wrong way.
Yeah.
We're both big sisters. So I know that with my sister, if I want her to do... Like, I have to mold my parenting type to fit her and what I know she's going to listen to. Mm-hmm. And I don't think Refugio's doing that with Teresa.
I want to take it a step further and say that she's never really supported Teresa.
She lets the fear she feels when she sees Teresa be ambitious get in the way, and she's just like, me das miedo, Teresa. But then does nothing about it.
Yeah.
She doesn't support, honestly, she doesn't support Teresa.
She doesn't.
And yeah, and that's difficult to have your mother not support you. And so I see a little bit of Teresa's side why she gets upset with her mom.
And, you know, we can't really get into the deep psychology, but that's why I get Teresa. You know, who did she have growing up to look up to?
Her madrina.
Her madrina, right? I don't know. Something was off along the way. I think that Teresa was on the right track. And then because of all her negative experiences with life, something like a switch. I don't know. You know how sometimes that happens with people?
And I thought that the switch was Rosita dying. Mm-hmm. But now I don't even think it was that. I think it goes back.
A compilation of everything.
It went further back. She was already who she was when Rosita died.
And it's like, if I had a daughter like Teresa, I would be rooting like, oh my God, like I would be ecstatic for her. Like, oh yeah, do that. Like, I don't care. But Doña Refugio doesn't even do that. Like, I don't know, at one point in one episode, she kind of says like, what you're doing is the bare minimum of what you're supposed to be doing. And it's like, What are you talking about? Like, because sometimes I can see why. Like, I kind of experienced that with my parents, but not on the same level. Yeah. And it's kind of disappointing to see that her parent or her mom isn't,
impressed.
Yeah, like, she's Teresa, like, and she doesn't even know who her daughter is.
And beauty aside, it's her brains. It's her brains and her work ethic that has gotten her this far.
And if her parents were supportive from the beginning, from a young age, to say like, we may not have money, but like if you get the right grades, which she did, and she was on like a scholarship and everything, like they could have guided her in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And I don't think anyone was there for Teresa to like guide her in that, like the values I think the morals were implemented, but she just, I don't know, something.
We're getting back into Teresa's psychology. Refugio didn't support Teresa, and as a result, Teresa has no respect for her mother. There's a line that she says, and I wrote this down. She says, "Mil veces prefiero dar miedo que lástima como tú." And when she said that, I was like,
yeah, every encounter she has with her mom on screen is very like intense. Like, up to this point, have we seen like a sweet moment?
No,
we never do. Like, at least with her dad, like.
Oh, with her dad, much as
she's a daddy's girl.
She's a bitch to him, but she loves her dad.
Because she can convince her dad to, like,
Well, and also her dad supports her.
Yeah, and maybe that's the...
And see, okay, we're going to continue talking about Teresa's psychology. I feel this with, like, my parents, back when I had both parents.
Ouch. Same.
When I had both parents when I was very young, I was very much a daddy's girl. I loved my dad, and I knew that I could convince him to do anything I wanted, and we had a very, very close relationship. I did not have that with my mom. We actually had a very rocky relationship at first, and I always thought she didn't like me and that she only loved my brother. My brother and her had a very close relationship. So I feel like that's how it was with Teresa. She has a very close relationship with her dad, doesn't with her mom, but her mom and Rosita were always super close.
And we can tell that Teresa looked for a mother in other people, and that person is Juana. Which, yeah, like if you think about everything Teresa's been through, it's sad. And it's even more sad when you think about it, because it's like she doesn't have any real friends that she allows to be her real friends, because everyone is a game piece. And that's something I was reading in the YouTube comments, was they were talking about Esperanza and her, because unknowingly they were telling each other everything.
Basically best friends.
Yeah, but Teresa doesn't really have friends.
No, because again, they're all chess pieces. The fact that she was able to see her friend Esperanza, who knows everything about Teresa, getting attacked, and she just used it as a chess piece. And I was like, I'm going to take a picture of this, and didn't help her at all.
There's so many of those moments with Teresa.
Something along the way went wrong with our dear Teresa, and that is why she is the way that she is right now. And so moving forward, after the big fight with Refugio and Teresa, Teresa decides to move out. She manipulates the situation, goes to Arturo's house. It's raining. It's a really romantic moment, and she's crying, and she says, I need you. I need your help. And so then Arturo takes her in, and he and Luisa decide to invite Teresa to live with them. Teresa's world completely opens up in this moment, and she completely shifts, because up until this moment, she's been working at that house, so she's friends with the staff. You know, I've seen moments when she's like talking to Reina, and she's being completely fine and normal, but at this moment, we have a scene of her laying in her bed, eating fruta, and then Reina comes in and gives her a message, brings her dinner, and then Teresa's like, you can set it there, and also I'm gonna need you to do this and this and this, and with my clothes, and fold it this way,
put it there, and that cajon, and that, and this, and this. Which is really ugly of her to just... It's so crazy, because 5 minutes ago, she was living in the Vecindad, and...
So Teresa, as soon as she has money, as soon as she has a tiny bit of power, she's twisted, and she goes about it the completely wrong way. But now that she's able to live with Arturo, she is getting her first real taste of having wealth and money, and she's about to graduate, so she's about to get her power. And so she basically breaks up with Mariano. She throws away the teddy bear that Mariano gave her. But there's a moment when she's looking at her book and she sees a picture of her and him. She's about to rip it, but she isn't able to. She still loves Mariano. And so then her and Arturo and Luisa are living it up. They're basically doing everything en familia, and they constantly say, you know, vamos a hacer esto, vamos a cenar juntos de familia. And we also get word that an old friend of Arturo's is back in town. And we have a new character alert. This character's name is Fernando, and he is played by Daniel Arenas. So before we wrap up this episode, we're going to talk about two characters that we kind of left out of the main plot line. And the first is Aurora, who is back in town after being in Europe for 3 years.
Aurora is just one of my favorite characters on there, because she's just such a good person. We see it over and over again, and she proves that she's genuine and she does everything from the heart. For example, she's asked to be Pablito's godmother after Teresa rejected, because she can't stand little kids apparently. And who's the godfather? Mariano, of course. And now we find out that the new director of the hospital is Aurora's dad, so that everything's kind of being set up. Yeah, she comes back from Europe, and she still likes Mariano. And it's hard, because it's hard to watch when Teresa knows that, and she's kind of like taking stabs and jabs at her, like, oh, I lost my virginity to him, and oh, he proposed, and it hurts her. Poor Aurora.
Poor Aurora is the summary. Yeah, I did see a few scenes with Aurora. Aurora, surprised. I thought, again, Aurora is being the sweetest person ever, because she surprises Teresa at her job. I think Teresa is genuinely happy to see her, because she hasn't seen her friend in over 3 years. At first. But like you said, she goes to taking jabs at her. There's also a scene when Refugio gets very sick and is in the hospital. Aurora has her dad take care of the expenses and pay for everything, and even leave a credit line open so that if they need anything else, it's going to be taken care of. Yeah. And Teresa's like, ay, gracias, amiga. No sé cómo, like, yo haría lo mismo por ti. I don't know how I would ever repay you. And it's like, no, you wouldn't, Teresa, because we've seen you have opportunities to pay it forward, and you haven't. And then you mentioned that you also wanted to talk about Aida.
Yeah, just very quickly, we know Teresa has threatened her, like, might seduce your dad type. And also Paolo is still like gifting Teresa like little gifts, like the computer, and he oversteps with Teresa for a little whatever. But that whole apartamento thing that happened, we didn't even really touch on. But basically, there was rumors going around that, you know, Arturo was going to get her an apartment, but really it was for Luisa. And once that gets sorted out, it's kind of like to see. And this is something I hate about novelas, or just movies, shows in general. Like, they'll set up this character to be either loved or hated, and then throughout the show, movie, whatever, like, it might change, and it's like, I hate that, because now I don't know my stance. But like, it hurts me to see, even though Aida's a bitch, it's sad to see like that she's only after Paolo because of Teresa, and Paolo doesn't even give a rat's ass about her. It's ugly, and I don't know, why is Aida like that?
I think Aida is in archetypes of characters, like the opposite of Teresa, the person who basically can match her energy, but they're complete opposites. So Aida has everything that Teresa wants. In theory, on paper, Aida should have everything that Teresa wants and be able to get anything that Teresa
But yet she's after everything that Teresa has.
But she can't, because she's not Teresa. And Teresa, even though she's poor and doesn't have Aida's money, power, or even or rich parents, Teresa is still able to have the love that Aida wants. And so it's this one thing that Aida wants that she can't have. And I think that's her tragedy, is that she, much like Teresa, can't appreciate everything that she has because she's just focused on that one thing that she can't have. And it's gonna get worse for Aida.
Yeah, this is just the beginning.
It's just gonna keep getting progressively worse. I'll keep an eye on Aida's storyline a little more, because the more and more I think about it, her and Teresa are basically the exact same character, but just
a poor and a rich one.
A poor and a rich one. And Teresa got the brains and Aida didn't. They're both even daddy's girls.
I hate how she talks to Paolo. Like, she does her little voice. I know, mi amor.
But yeah, okay, so Teresa is now living with Luisa and el profesor Arturo. She knows that Arturo wants her. Arturo knows his feelings for Teresa. And it's, you know, we're getting ready to step into the new etapa of the telenovelas. So telenovelas do this, you know, we have the beginning, middle, end, and there's different eras. In Ruby, I called it like Cancun Ruby, which was the chunk of episodes that happened where Ruby was in Cancun and we were introduced to new characters, new plot lines. So we're getting ready to make that shift forward. And this comes first with the introduction of the new character, Arturo's old friend, who might have a thing for Luisa and is now going to be working very closely with Luisa. His name is Fernando. He is played by Daniel Arenas. He's introduced as being this complete playboy, everything that Arturo isn't. But Arturo and him are super, super, super close. And we get Teresa now finally living with Arturo. They're getting ready to be closer than ever. And Teresa steps up her seduction game. There's a scene where, you know, we mentioned earlier that Teresa's always moisturized and oiled up. There's a scene where she waits for Arturo to finish doing his work. And then
upstairs. He comes upstairs. Again, Teresa's waiting for him. She's wearing the tiniest little sleep shorts, kind of also rolled up to make them even shorter, showing off all her legs. Again, she's oiled up, and the light is hitting her just right. And she has like this little tank top. Was it like a little tank top?
Yeah, it's like a
tank top, yeah. String, spaghetti strap, I don't know. And she waits for him, and they finally see each other. We hear the music that they played. I don't know. You know which one.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And Arturo is literally like the cartoon, like his eyes open up, like tongue to the floor almost. You know those cartoons over Teresa, because it's like, this is the first time he really sees Teresa not in professional wear.
She's basically in her underwear.
Yeah, it's just so steamy. I don't even know. Like, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, whew.
Yeah, so they have a very intense moment. They're doing everything they can with their eyes. Arturo is checking her out completely. And Teresa's just like, oh, no podía dormir. Vine a dejar este libro y a recoger otro. You know, showing she's smart. She reads. She's different. And then, like the mastermind that she is, she drops a book. And so Arturo picks it up, and as he picks it up, he looks up at her and just sees her, and she's twirling her hair. It's honestly very set up like an erotic film.
Yeah, like he's all like the way the novela sets it up, like they add a heartbeat sound, and it's like very intense. And when they both kind of come up, or when he comes up and like he's kind of just hovering over her, and it's like we're waiting for something to happen, but nothing does.
But nothing happens. And that is because the very next day we get Teresa, and she's up early working already. And so Arturo is like, oh, Teresa, already working. And obviously not like that. And Sebastián Rulli's sexy español.
Ya te levantaste tan temprano, Teresa.
And so basically, Teresa comes in and she's very upset and she's borderline crying. And Arturo is like, ¿por qué no me dijiste que Mariano, ese muchacho, ese taxista, todavía te está buscando? And she's like, es que es lo que quiere mi mamá, pero mi mamá no acepta que yo no estoy enamorado de él, porque yo soy enamorada de... And she stops. And then Arturo looks at her.
She looks at him.
They get close. A Donde Vamos a Parar plays as they finally kiss.
Which Teresa goes in for.
She goes in for it. She initiates. Which, I mean, that's the only way that I could see this happening, because Arturo up until this point has been written as being super respectful and respecting the boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And so Teresa just goes for it, and it's super dramatic, it's super beautiful. We are 35 episodes into this telenovela, and this is the first time they're kissing. And it's just, ¿a dónde vamos a parar?
Yeah, when I saw them kiss, I'm like, I see the chemistry. No wonder they're together in real life.
You definitely see the chemistry. And so now that the telenovela is being set up, that Arturo and Teresa are going to be together. Teresa's leaving Mariano completely, and she's getting ready to be rich and wealthy Teresa. I don't even know what to call her.
This is the moment where Teresa now knows that she can live this luxurious life, and we thought she was tunnel vision before, and now it's...
What's next? What's next for Teresa? Because now she finally got a taste of what it's like to be rich.
And she's not going back.
There's no way she's going back. There's no going back for Teresa after this.
La tiburona.
Aquí llegó tu tiburón. So yeah, we're gonna enter the phase, we'll just call it Teresa the Shark. So we are introduced to Teresa la Tiburón, Teresa the Shark. She's not going back to La Vecindad, and she has Arturo now at her grasp. And she's gonna do everything she can to keep him there. So that is where we'll end for this episode. Thank you, Aranza, so much for joining me again. And as we mentioned, our goal for next week is gonna be to get up to episode 60, which I already think we might not. All right, so we'll see who's right. But our goal is to get to episode 60 of the telenovela. We're going to see more drama, more Teresa being manipulating. Maybe we'll see some redemption for Teresa. I don't know. But it's a new era.
Let us know what you guys think about that whole Psychology of Teresa talk.
What do you all think?
Let us know in the comments on TikTok.
In the comments on TikTok, you all. So we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter as telenovelascondulce, telenovelascondulce on TikTok as well. Or you can just send me an email to telenovelascondulce@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you're hearing, please leave us a review. Join us again next week where we'll see if we finally get to episode 60. Thank you, Aranza.
Thank you.